Hi, my name's Andrew from Launchpad 6. In this quick tutorial video, we're going to show you how to set up your voting periods in ContestPad. ContestPad includes a powerful voting capability that allows people to vote for their favourite entries. This is great for selecting winners for People Choice type awards. Voting is conducted between a set time period. In ContestPad, you can set up multiple scheduled voting periods to enable you to narrow down finalists over multiple rounds. To set up your voting round, go to the Manage section of your selected contest, select the Settings tab, and then select the Voting and Judging tab. This is where you can create scheduled voting and judging rounds. To create your first voting round, select the Add Period button and then select Add Voting Period. This will present you with a voting period configuration form. Start by giving your voting period a name and then set when the voting period will start and end. You can then select how you want to identify voters. The first two options allows you to identify voters using their IP address or a simple cookie. These are both device type identification, as you are identifying the device that the user is voting from. The other option is to identify voters using user validation. User validation is typically the most secure and commonly used option. You can select to identify voters based on their email address, their social account, or based on them having a registered account within your ContestPad competition site. We will just focus on email verification for this video. When email verification is selected, an email address will be requested from the voter, and once submitted, an email will be sent to the voter with a unique link for them to click and validate their vote. This is also a great way to build your list, as this information is collected in the vote table. As well as collecting email address, you will also have the option to select a form where you can collect further information. This form can be created in the Forms area and must be created before you can select it. Next, set up your voting rules, which includes how often a voter can vote for the same entry and how many entries a voter can vote for per voting period, per entry category, or per voting group. Voting groups is an advanced feature, and that allows you to set up tournament-style competitions. We are not going to cover that in this video. You then need to select whether all published entries will be eligible by default to be voted on, or whether all entries will be ineligible. If this is your first round of voting and you would like your voters to vote on all entries, then you would typically set this option to all entries eligible by default. This means any published entry, whether current or submitted during the voting period, will be able to be voted on. If this is your second or later round of voting and you want to reduce the number of entries being voted on to your finalists, then you would set this to all entries ineligible by default. You would then manually select the entries you want voters to vote for. I will show you how to do this next. The last tick box determines whether only entries that are eligible to be voted on are displayed in the gallery. If this option is not selected, then entries displayed in the gallery, which are not eligible to be voted on, will be still displayed, however, they will not have a vote button enabled. Once you have configured the settings for your voting round, you then have the option to manually assign which entries can be voted on. Note, you only need to complete this step if you want specific entries to be voted on. To do this, go back to the Voting and Judging Period table. Select the Entries tab for the voting round you just created. You will then be presented with a list of entries on the right and two filter buckets on the left for eligible and ineligible entries. If you selected all entries eligible by default in your vote configuration, then all entries will be within the All Eligible Entries filter bucket. If you configured the round to have all entries ineligible by default, then all entries will be within the All Ineligible Entries filter bucket. To manually assign eligible or ineligible entries, just simply select the entries you want to assign and then drag them from one of the buckets to the other. And that's it. You have now set up which entries voters can vote for. Now, once the start date and time is reached for the voting period, voters can begin to submit votes based on your rules for the entries that are eligible. That concludes our voting configuration tutorial. Don't forget that if you need more detailed information for setting up voting periods or any other features of ContestPad, just go to help.launchpad6.com. Thanks for watching and thanks for using ContestPad.